I am Hector the Prog God. These albums have been deemed unsuitable for my worth. I will judge the suitability of each album in turn and decide whether they go into room 201.
So hello, welcome to In the Court of the Wenton King, episode 200, part 2, which is episode 201, actually, except there's probably going to be another episode 201.
Yeah, I was going to say what we're going to do in that scenario.
Yeah, we're going to have another one, because it's quite funny. Yeah, so here we are once again with the shit albums. There's more of a theme this year. Obviously, last time there was a bit of a theme of sellout albums. I think more so this time. And much more of an 80s theme.
I just want to point out someone made a comment during the week that they listened to my episode 201 playlist. I had no intention for people to be able to do that.
We didn't realise people could see it. Surprise! Oh, you already knew.
Yeah, so people who've listened to that playlist or looked at that playlist know what horrendousness is coming.
Yeah. Now, actually, there's one horror which wasn't on there. Okay, what we'll do, we're going to do these in chronological order. So, first album, here we go. Yeah. So, right, there we go.
That's disgraceful. I can't
no, well, I'm sorry, no, that's taken away. I didn't mean that. Joke, in the stop. Okay, it was a joke. It's a joke. He's very good. I bought 3 of his albums. Very mind, yeah. And what he does is it's a different thing to what we do, isn't it? It's different. And he also does a hell of a lot more videos than us. So it's cool. Finished. That's that. There we go. Okay. Anyway, so take 2. The first album. If we're talking about chronological, so it's Giant for the Day by Gentle Giant, as requested by somebody. So this is towards the end of their career. It's not the last album. It's the penultimate album. It is an attempt to commercialise it. It's an attempt to dumb down in a way. The title reflects that, doesn't it? It's be a giant for the day, just Gentle Giant, just a bit. Just a bit of Gentle Giant in some easily digestible portions.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing bad on that album at all. It does smell a bit of Breathless by Cowell, and it's just a bit boring.
I quite like one of the tracks. What was it?
I better know which one.
Spooky Boogie?
Yes, exactly what I'm saying. Yeah, that sounds like Gentle Giant. And actually they've instilled Gentle Giantness into a little song.
Yeah.
Actually, so but it's some of it sounds like yes, and not good yes. Some of it. But it's strangely 80s as well. It's 1978? They knew what they were doing.
They've predicted the 80s.
They knew. They just couldn't do anything about it.
Yeah.
And with that type of music, it's just like, well, what's the point? You might as well put Octopus on. Why not? So any takes on any opinions on Giant for the Day?
I think what we're going to find, as with a lot of albums in this list, or a lot of tracks in the list, they're not.
It's not terrible.
They're not horrendous, they're not offensive or anything like that.
Well, we'll get to that.
Yeah, okay. I did say the majority, not highly offensive.
And it shouldn't be.
No.
And Gentle Giant know what they're doing. They're competent, brilliant musicians. They're not idiots.
That's the thing. None of that shows through on this album, though, does it?
No, it's just an attempt to have an accessible album. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that, especially at that time in their career.
Yeah.
It's all a bit sad, the end of Gentle Giant. So it's best. I don't even want to listen to it because it's just slightly depressing. It's like you can't do that. You have to do that. So Hector, what is your verdict?
Gentle Giant, Giant for a Day, escapes room 201.
Okay.
I can't believe Hector did that. I thought it was a goner. Definitely, yeah. Thought he was going to go.
And the light comes on because we kept an album in. Okay, that was like 1978. So next, an album I actually own. Unfortunately, I was fooled. I feel like I was fooled into buying this one, and I thought because of other things like that, I thought it would be okay. But early 80s, you got these mega successful rock stars who they're in bands that are now defunct or whatever. They want an easy life, they just want to tour and make millions of pounds, and jump on the bandwagon of the industry getting bigger. They don't want anything to be too difficult, And a lot of people auditioned for this band. I mean, one minute there was going to be Rick Wakeman, Trevor Rabin was involved, Roy Wood auditioned as the vocalist. I think it kind of comes from the UK thing and the attempt to reignite King Crimson, which was Bill Bruford and John Wetton were doing that. Bill Bruford's long gone; he's not having any of that. But the ultimate outcome was a prog masterpiece of supergroup. You've got Steve Howe, you've got John Wetton, you've got Jeff Downes, you've got you've got Carl Palmer, and it is execrable. It is horrible album. Sounds horrible. The songs are horrible. The production is horrible. The guitar playing just doesn't fit at all. Carl Palmer can't keep time because he's classically trained. He can do all this, but he can't just in time. It's just awful. We've lost John Wetton, haven't we? So it's a bit, should you say these things? But remember, John Wetton's done. He was in the three of King Crimson's best albums, some of the best live stuff. So it's fine. They were massively successful.
Really?
Hugely. Yeah.
I've never heard of Asia.
It was a nosedive thing, but they were massive. They made a lot of money.
Did they?
So you could argue that's fair enough. They've done their dues. They've made the best music in the world.
And now it's time for the payoff.
Yeah.
And therefore, should you punish the album that gives them their dues?
That's the thing, isn't it? Yeah. And the songwriting, it's like, think of a word. I don't know. Soul Survivor. Hey, what's the chorus? Soul Survivor. Soul Survivor. Heat of the moment. Heat of the moment. Yeah. Or, I don't know. Without you. I can't remember how it goes, but I guarantee it'll go without you. Without you. Just make up a word, and that's how they write the songs. They're terrible songs. That's their best album. They were still an entity for so long with different lineups, and even Greg Lake joined them at one point.
It's really strange because people have mentioned Asia over the years as something we should look at, and I've never really understood why. And because I didn't do any research. Kev, I had how many albums we're doing?
Yeah, we did 10 albums.
I had 10 albums to listen to. And I had no idea that those people were involved, and that kind of makes sense in that case. But listening to it, it just sounded like a really crap 80s band.
Yeah.
One of many.
Yeah.
And I was sort of still a little bit flabbergasted.
Yeah, who's on that album?
That we had to actually review it. I mean, what's
the point of reviewing this shit? Yeah. The question is it fair enough? And we know it is fair enough, but does that mean the album itself has to go away? Because now it doesn't matter. They've made their money. These albums we review are out of context.
Yeah.
The context doesn't matter anymore. Just the music matters now. It doesn't matter that Tales from Topographic Oceans bought on punk or something. It's just, I like the songs, that's all that matters. Covers are good, the album covers. Unlike most 70s album covers, ironically, are usually actually terrible. By the 80s, the album covers were pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's rubbish.
It's terrible, isn't it?
Yeah. I can't imagine Hector's keeping this one out.
I can't imagine. Let's ask him.
Hector, should Asia go into room 201?
Yes.
There he goes. Right, let's see, the contraption doesn't work, but let's just... At least they won't fall in there.
Box 201.
Because So fell in, and it shouldn't have done. Never mind. Okay, so chronologically, I think, I might get this wrong, but 90125 is next, which is 83, actually. I think most of the tour was 84, but... Yeah, here it is. 90125. Obviously, we had the Buggles, Yes, and Yes fell apart with that. Then you just had the two of them left. Chris Squire and Alan White did a Christmas single, Run with the Fox, and all that, and they did a lot of just jamming on their own, and then they joined a band with Jimmy Page, and he wrote this 20-minute thing, allegedly, I think was called Cinema, but whatever, I don't know if it was called Cinema at that point, but you can tell he wrote that. Those that's Jimmy Page. Jimmy Page was unable to do any band stuff without Robert Plant, and Robert Plant can't relate to that at all. He wants to make simple music, so that was the end of that. But they found Trevor Rabin, new upcoming great musician and all that, and they formed this band called Cinema, and they produced it, and they've got Ertegun to listen to it, and he's like, wow, that's good. But there was a thing, well, you need a lead singer, really. I think there's a suggestion Trevor Rabin wasn't really up to the job of being a lead singer. He's a fantastic guitarist, obviously, but he's not. He's a guitarist and a producer and all that stuff and a writer. So they said, well, let's just get John Anderson back again. So they said, well, isn't that just Yes? Yeah, okay. Call it Yes. Yeah, it'll sell loads then. So it's their biggest selling album. And I have to say, it's good. It's very, very 80s music, but it's not bad 80s music. It's not something I'm going to listen to, but it is very good. Very well. They're good songs. It's well-written songs. There's bits of progginess in there. I think Changes is very good. And all that. It's a structured thing, It's not just about Owner of a Lonely Heart. They got Tony Kaye back as well, of course, to make it more Yes, who stormed off and came back or something. But yeah, I think this is a good album. The controversy really is the fact that it's called Yes. What's the link between even Trevor Rabin? He says, what's the link between Yes in the 80s and old Yes? Nothing. There's no link at all. It's different music with the same musicians. It's much like Asia, except much better. But he is a boring guitarist, I have to say. Although he's this fantastic musician, he's just boring 80s guitarist.
Yeah, I mean, I would say this is probably the best Yes album I've ever heard.
Because it's nothing like Yes. But it's just really good, isn't it?
Well, it still deserves to go into Room 201.
But they're well written songs, they're well produced, there's structured pieces. It's all there.
Yeah. John Anderson's voice actually makes sense in some places. There's one where he actually sounds like a rock singer.
yeah.
I can't remember which one it is now. But
Probably Hold On or City of Love or something.
Is this John Anderson?
Yeah. But remember, they'd done it in the album. He just came on and sellotaped his vocals on at the end. And the only reason they could finish the album was because he wasn't involved, actually. The problem after that was when you had Trevor Rabin and John Anderson both wanting control, and John Anderson is completely around the bend, and Trevor Rabin is normal. Which presented a problem.
Yeah. I mean, my expectation, again, all these albums come with a certain amount of expectation. I knew Owner of a Lonely Heart was on here, and I was expecting Asia quality drivel.
It's much better, isn't it?
It's better, yeah. And it's probably the most accessible Yes album. I mean, you compare this to Relayer or something like that.
Yeah.
You can put this on and enjoy it. You don't have to, really, really try and,
Get through all
go through the Chinese water torture of it all and finally, I get it now. Yeah, that makes sense. That was worth it. Can listen to some Deep Purple now.
Oh no. that's still to come.
Thumbs up from me.
Now here's the thing, that was the end of Yes as a creative force, with the exception of maybe 2 albums, but it took them 15 years to get their muse back. They were just screwed, because where do you go from there? With John Anderson there, he wants to write bloody song for harmonic convergence. and Trevor Rabin wants to make 80s music and make millions of pounds with his production and everything, and that took however long it took. Apparently they did the drum tracks, and then 18 months later they did the rest of the tracks because they couldn't agree on anything. So Big Generator's horrible. Then of course you had ABWH. So John Anderson went off in a huff and got back with Rick Wakeman tricked Bill Bruford. Got back with Rick Wakeman and Steve Howard, did an album with him, and then they would make another album, and then they thought, I know, let's just stuff those 2 bands together into one glorious mush. And that was Union, and it was horrendous. And then it took 10 years to recover from that, basically. If they'd made The Ladder instead of Union, they would still be a big band. They wouldn't have plummeted in the success.
Oh, controversial.
Yeah. But Magnification is the only other one after this, really. Yeah. So does it go in? That's the question. Hector,
does 90125 go into Room 201?
Interesting one. No, it probably doesn't go in, although it might do. It doesn't go in.
Yeah. Right, next, I think on the agenda. Actually, I think we should have already done Hot Space, but never mind yet. So next is Hot Space. Right, I've never heard this album. I knew about it. I've even got the Queen on Fire DVD of the 81 show. It's a really good show when they were still really good. But yeah, this is their sellout album. This is where they tried to go 80s, basically.
Queen had a sellout album. Is that possible?
Yeah.
I mean, they've always been quite commercial.
Well, yeah, but it's like...
We're not making enough money.
Switch to sort of hard funk kind of... It sounds like Paperboy music. It's the if you play the computer game, Paperboy or 720 Degrees, terrible 80s computer games, massively misjudged. It's not the style, but if you're going to listen to that style of music, well, first of all, it's got to be stuff from the 70s, not the 80s. It's just not good enough. There's nothing bad on there. Stylistically, it's like, what the fuck are you doing? But I've also got Under Pressure, and it's massively out of place. It seems so much better than the rest of the album.
we had Queen's Greatest Hits 1 and 2, yeah. And on that there was points of boredomness if you tried to listen like all the way through. And that's what I was expecting on this, that it would all be that boring. And it's actually not. I mean, it's perfectly acceptable background music with no really big singles apart from Under Pressure. You've only got to look at the track listings and you know, it gives you a sort of an inkling what's going on. I don't recognise any of them.
It kind of gets better as it goes along, and it becomes more like Queen as it goes along as well, which is interesting. It's like they were deliberately at the start saying, "Oh, wow," and then but taking it easy after that. Maybe I think that was a bad idea.
Yeah, I'm not. I'll be honest with you. Under Pressure is a big thing for Queen. I've never been that much of a fan of it.
It's a strange thing because it's not structured properly. It's weird, fantastic melodies, but it doesn't. It's just all over the place, isn't it? Because the way they did it. But yeah, it's Under Pressure, isn't it? You know. The rest of the albums. Throw the newspapers in this weird. It's not isometric, is it? Whatever it is, and you know, you hit something, and it's an impossible game, terrible game. 720 Degrees is a bit better, actually.
So yeah, I think it's a missed opportunity.
There's a weird bit on Calling All Girls. It's What in the World from Low, isn't it? That was a terrible idea because it's laughable to compare this to Low. Low is fantastic by comparison to this boring 80s stuff.
Queen. Well, strictly not prog, so not really my my area, but I'd stick it in there. It's got to go in Room 201 Beckons.
Queen are indestructible. They will not go in Room 201.
Well, they are Queen. Yeah, so we screwed that up. But so I think next is Phil.
No jacket required.
No jacket
you
required.
kept asking me last week, is it no jacket required? I was like, no. Never heard that title in my life before.
No, it can't be. God, no. Don't do this. It took me a while to listen to this one. So I have to put this on? Really? Really? Am I going to have to put this on? There we go. Okay. This is actually his third album, so any sort of initial energy of divorce, I mean, he had more divorces, obviously, had passed, and obviously this is really the era where people dislike him. Because he was really successful. He sold more records than Genesis. And what he's doing is nothing to do with what he was doing with Genesis. And, you know, so it makes this idea of people hate him and all that stuff, and there's nothing wrong. Well, okay, actually, I need to rephrase that. Within the context of what he's trying to do, it is all correct. I can't say it any better than that. I can't use the word good or anything like that. I mean, I've no interest in listening to this. But what it is that Barry Manilow music, or whatever you want to call it, and it is correct. It's the right one of doing that. And you know what? He's my second favourite drummer. So, that's quite funny in itself, isn't it? Well done, you're my second favourite drummer. Massively talented individual, writes good melodies, etc. I don't want to listen to it. That's the thing. But the Phil hate thing is mostly nonsense, isn't it? You know, most people, either people don't know why they're supposed to hate him, they just know they're supposed to hate him, or they're arseholes and they read NME. Really. Yeah. And the 80s sucked. Did you get through the whole album?
Yeah.
Goodness me.
Oh, bloody hell, I do. I pay my dues, Kev. we actually had this album. I recognised the cover as soon as I saw it. I had no idea what it was called.
Why is his face red? It really is that colour on the actual album cover.
And actually, from all that time ago, the only track I remember was the opening track, Studio.
Oh, God.
Studio.
Yeah, because I mean, that's the one he gets slagged off for because it's just nothing.
But the whole album's just nothing.
Yes.
It is an album of...
Well, the song's about divorce, basically. That's what he does, isn't it? You know.
Doesn't anybody stay together anymore?
But he has this very superficial... It's so strange. Somebody's so talented. He's so brilliant on the drums. He's so incredibly shallow.
Yeah.
And you see, he moans about singing some Genesis songs because he doesn't know what they're about. I can't emote. And of course, you know, on the 2007 live stuff, he says, I'll just have to sing the notes. I can't emote this. And, you know, Ripples, it's the best thing on that show, isn't it? It's wonderful. Doesn't matter if he's feeling it.
I mean, you say about the hate thing. I mean, I have a negative connotation towards Phil Collins because of one certain teacher who bloody loved Phil Collins and used to play the music at us.
Oh, God.
And she was really annoying, and I really didn't like her. And so I've always associated Phil Collins with
her,
with someone who.
Well, this is the thing she never taught me.
Entire existence was pointless, and was determined to make everyone else's life completely pointless.
Sam ironed his homework because it was a bit messy, and she gave it back. So he just ironed it and gave it back.
Oh yeah, I mean, what's more important, the content of the homework or the fact that the pages are a bit crumpled?
Yeah, and that awful thing of the content doesn't matter. You've got to do your homework. Doesn't matter what you're learning.
The colouring in is not good enough. Redo it.
Yeah. And that's 80s. It's like it almost has a link.
It is, isn't it?
Not Phil, just terrible 80s-ness, which is on that album, obviously, but not Phil.
You must have known though, Kev. Every time she did an assembly, it was the same song. It was "Oh, think twice."
Oh God. I mean, playing music at people is a thing, isn't it? That's the car stereo thing. They're not really listening to it themselves. They put it on when they see people, kind of thing. It's a bit of that.
I mean, but what are you trying to say to people around you? You're listening to that?
I'm listening to the most popular music of the time that everyone is bored with.
Yeah. Anyway, so having said that, this album is boring. It says absolutely nothing to it. I can't imagine. I presume it's successful.
Massively. Remember, you have to remember he's one. I think there's some record he holds. There's only 3 people in history who have sold more than 100 million albums in a band and then sold more than 100 million albums solo. Paul McCartney, Michael Jackson, and Phil Collins.
That's mad, isn't it?
That's how successful this guy is. You know, because he's bald and not pop starry. People don't like that.
What doesn't he say in his autobiography? At some point, you know, one of his divorces cost him 30 million or something like that.
Yeah, but that's not a huge amount of money to him.
30 million, you know, he's
good mates with Robert Plant, you know. I mean, Plant is... I've heard him called a billionaire. He might actually be... Plant might be a billionaire. Philly's in that same region. And we can all this we're going to talk about, but it pains me that he feels responsible. Yeah. There's nothing to do with him. He just did it. You know, do you want to do this? Yeah. Do you want to do a movie? Okay. He was a workaholic, you know.
So yeah, I mean, this album is just dross.
Yeah, it's nothing. It's a nothing album.
It's nothing. I mean, why would you put it on? Why? I don't understand the mentality of it. I know. But I'll listen to this. I'll listen to No Jacket Required now.
What for?
Why?
It doesn't. It's not like if you've had a divorce. There's no divorce. It's nothing. It's just a studio. Yeah. And he said, "Oh, I made that word up." And
anyway, so yeah, not good.
It's not. No. Well, is it? That's the thing.
Well, no, you're right. It's correct.
It's correct. I'm not going to say the word good though.
It hits enough. It's like a politician who crafts a speech to make sure it hits enough of the buzzwords.
Yeah,
content's meaningless. It's
the David Cameron effect.
A 10-second thing that you can extract from it and play on the news, and it hits the right buzzwords.
Yeah,
then it's okay, you know.
Yeah. Make sure there's no actual content.
Yeah, and that's what this is.
Yeah, but as far as he's concerned, he was feeling it. You know, there's nothing there.
Yeah.
Phil Collins, how can I put Phil into room 201? But I will. In it goes.
There we go.
Yep, next. Okay.
This is served.
The chronology, I'm messing this up really, but I'm going to guess Hold Your Fire by Rush. Of course I don't own Hold Your Fire by Rush. I mean, come on. Makes me want to gouge my ears out. It's horrible. 80s horribleness. We're getting further in the 80s now. And really the worst stuff is in the latter half of the 80s, because that's kind of when everyone was doing it. And much like how I always say in the 90s, there was like this inevitability of that's what you have to do now. When I heard Falling Into Infinity, it's like, well, that's what bands have to sound like now. And that was then. That was what you have to sound like now. Tinny, horrible, synthy, with completely absence of anything interesting. Actually, much like Hot Space, it gets better as it goes along, and sounds more like Rush as it goes along as well. But you can't believe that Neil Peart is on the book songs. If you stop and listen, there's interesting percussion, but 80s, that probably...
Sorry.
That one. Yeah, it's actually got bass on. Because remember, he stopped playing bass, didn't he? He was playing keyboards instead and bass with his feet. But that song sounds like Rush because he's playing bass, you know? And it's funny, and again, it just sounds like Yes again. Because without the rushness, it just sounds like Yes. Just like the Gentle Giant thing, it all just becomes this generic. And again, that's an album I would never put on again.
It's weird. I mean, it comes at an unfortunate time, really. We've done a Rush run, haven't we?
Yeah.
And I struggle with that a little bit. But people tell me, Rush, you got to listen to Rush, man. They're brilliant. If you like Pink Floyd, you'll like Rush for some reason. And this does them no favours whatsoever.
No.
This is sort of like, well, no, I don't think I will actually.
Yeah, well, you have to remember, I didn't even know about this. When we started reviewing that, I was saying, yeah, Rush did 80s, but it was okay. And I was thinking bloody Permanent Waves and Moving Pictures, which is brilliant. I didn't know they'd done that as well. Jesus. They know what they're doing, they know how to sell records. It's actually, I think, the lowest selling record since whatever.
Well, that's good.
But apparently they still play songs from it live. But maybe played live, they sound different. They don't sound so awful. And of course, you've got the Geddy Lee thing of he's playing keyboards, he's singing, he's playing the bass with his feet, and he can move the mic with his nose. He's got no limbs left. It's amazing, yeah. But I wish they'd go back and play some good music.
Yeah, very boring, very dull.
Yeah, and obnoxious. No jacket required isn't obnoxious. It's just dull.
This was what I was expecting from 90125, actually.
Yes, and there's a nothingness to it. There's no songs.
No.
You can't remember the songs.
Rush. Yes, definitely. That goes into room 201.
Eternal Damnation for Rush there.
Horrible album. Right. It's time. It's time, ladies and gentlemen. If I get the timeline right, I believe this is the Genesis album after No Jacket Required. I think there's a bit of a gap because Phil was touring. So 84, 85, well, second half of 84, 85, no Phil. So this is 86. The same year as So, actually. So technically what we should be discussing is So should come out and maybe this should go in. I think this is their worst album. It's really 80s. There's very little Genesis-y stuff. There's very little Genesis-y stuff on it. It doesn't sound like... A lot of it doesn't sound like Genesis. There's just boring songs. There's a couple of songs which are good songs, like Land of Confusion. But, it's one of those things where the music video, because it's Spitting Image, is much more interesting than the song.
Yeah, you've said previously that you could put any Genesis album on, including this one.
Even this one. But the problem is, there's an epic. There's always an epic. I don't like the epic. Domino is just boring. There's just bits and pieces.
I actually quite like Domino.
Goodness me.
That was the bit that I thought, actually, okay, I can see Genesis now.
I have to say, it's weird listening to the album, because I don't listen to the album, and how I know the songs from live stuff, and it's different. He obviously is singing much more because he can.
Yeah.
Invisible Touch, he sings a different melody live because he's very difficult to sing.
It starts off like one of his solo albums. I think
that's the problem.
Yeah, it's is this Phil Collins or is this Genesis?
Yeah, and people would think that was the same thing. People thought Phil was writing all the songs in Genesis as well. The previous album is, I think, half of it is brilliant. Actually, this is just meh. It's just bits. It could be if this was outtakes from the previous album, that would be okay. It just doesn't. I don't know what it is. There's a thing missing. There's a Genesis-ness. It's all right. And you think about how far they've got in their career. All bands run out of steam.
Yeah, they must be tired by this point.
What would have Led Zeppelin sound like by 1986? I don't think it would have been pretty.
It's amazing that they were still going as they were.
Yeah, and you have to remember that the problem was that up to this point, this is the peak of their success, biggest selling album. So many albums in the chart, so many singles in the chart all at once, all over the media everywhere. There was only an ascent. The sales only ever went up.
Yeah.
And there was a point. They said, after, and then there were three. So after Steve Hackett had joined, if after that it hadn't happened, they would have split up. But of course, they just kept going. So they had to carry on. So with Abacab, they thought, let's try and do something different. Okay, it's the 80s now. So it's fine. It's okay. It's just the only difference is that there was success. So Gentle Giant, it didn't work. The ELP was awful.
When you've got the Phil Collins thing as well, they'll be feeding into each other, sort of thing. In that case, there would be a nice little
that's
feedback loop going on there.
Yeah, which it meant that it just kept going.
Yeah.
But it also meant that they were never out of the media. It was always Phil Collins, always on the telly. we're sort of being programmed to dislike him, or we do dislike him, whatever it is, it's going to become a problem, isn't it?
Mm.
But it's nothing to do with this album. It's just a very meh 80s Genesis album.
Lots of also run.
Yeah, there's a
tracks.
song on there I can't remember. It's like "She's the One" or "She's Gone" or something, and it's just nothing. Why is that on a Genesis album? It's just nothing.
Yeah.
Should a Genesis album go to a one? Probably only that one. So
Maybe prog is anti-success,
that's the thing. That's
anti-commercial success.
That's why Gentle Giant couldn't do it. That's why LP really couldn't do it. That's why Camel couldn't do it. And yes, did it, but then of course couldn't get on, so they couldn't do it anymore. Genesis just carried on because they're normal. Well, are they normal people? They're posh, aren't they? How dare they be posh? But the Genesis were just, because of what they were, the songwriting thing, they were able to just carry on, really, because the songwriting is their nucleus. They didn't really have to change; they just had to keep going.
Success is a prison.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. I bet they weren't that bothered.
They just like the money.
Yeah. Keep giving me money. Okay. So Hector, does Invisible Touch go into room 201?
Mm.
You bet your ass it does. In it goes.
Yeah. Right, so that was 86. So where are we? I think we're jumping straight to 1990 now, unfortunately. Sorry. So yeah, I believe we are leaving the 80s. Oh, we've seen it. Sorry. Mm-hmm. It's now 1990, so surely bands will know that we've left the 80s and it won't be the 80s anymore.
We can change now and do good things.
Yeah, so Deep Purple reunion in the mid 80s, and the massive cash in it was, and it was more successful than people talk about because they're unfashionable. But the second biggest grossing tour of the year, and it was Bruce Springsteen. But there was a suggestion actually Deep Purple made more than Bruce Springsteen or whatever, blah blah blah. But then they should have done one album and then gone back to what they were doing. But they offered them so much money. Oh, we'll do another album then. They hate each other. Gillan and Blackmore hate each other. Ian Gillan's voice is fucked. It sounds awful, but they just carry on anyway. And Blackmore sounds awful. His playing is awful. So they did a live album and it's shit. What the hell happened there? So they sacked Ian Gillan because it's his fault. He just wasn't looking after his voice, And they tried to get another singer. Couldn't get another singer. Who are we going to get? There's nobody. So in the end, it was like, well, why don't we just get Geraldine Turner from the 80s Rainbow? Okay, I'll do. It wasn't that Richie Blackmore was trying to turn it into Rainbow. They just didn't have. It was like, well, we can't think of anyone else, so let's just have him. It's supposed to be bringing. Right, he's the safe pair of hands coming back, isn't he? Because early 80s Rainbow was. You have to remember, it was much more successful than the Dio stuff. Although now it's sort of forgotten, no one cares. It was big band, and had they carried on, maybe actually it would have been more successful. But so they brought him back, and of course, his voice sounded terrible. For some reason, his voice was just a mess at that point, and they wrote some songs, and there's some really great playing. They were on fire on the tour. I think Richie Blackmore hadn't listened to himself between 77 and 88, I reckon, and he heard Nobody's Perfect, the live album, and thought, oh shit. But they all got it together. So there is some really good playing on here, but it's just horrible 80s-ness. And it's 1990, so it was a disaster. It just wasn't as hit. I think they're on the new label by this point, and it's just crap. I think the first 3 songs are the best songs, and it just takes a nosedive. Well produced.
Well, there we go. That's the 90s for you. So they kicked off the 90s.
With an 80s album. It's just far too late. If they'd done it in 85 or 86, they probably would have been sold millions.
I don't know. It sort of shows to me what Deep Purple had in the 70s and why they were so big. Mm. And it is literally energy.
Yeah.
They just seem to be able to get energy into their music, yeah.
Yeah, it's not the songs,
no.
It's not anything like that. It's this playing, this thing, the noise of...
And it's not on here. It feels quite pedestrian and maybe harking back to... is it Love Conquers All that sounds a bit like Mistreated?
Love conquers all... No.
There's one that I thought they're trying to do Mistreated here and they're missing the mark by a mile.
It might be... Is it Truth Hurts? Sounds a bit like Perfect Stranger, so maybe that's what you think.
I don't know.
You got Wicked Ways as a nice riff. Cut Runs Deep, he's energetic. Fire in the Basement has the boo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo, which is cool. That's it.
But basically, I mean, if if they produced this album in the 70s, they wouldn't have got anywhere. It would have been it would have been career over sort of thing. Go and do something else, chaps.
Yeah, sorry guys, this is really boring.
Yeah. And it's just generally boring. It's not offensive.
Yeah.
It's just so what?
Why did I actually lift my arm and put the CD on? It wasn't worth it.
Yeah, if you went into a record store and they were playing that over the thing, you wouldn't say, "Oh, what's this?" You'd say, "Well, you wouldn't say anything really, wouldn't you?"
You wouldn't notice it was on.
No.
Yeah.
No. And that's the thing about all these albums. These guys have produced great albums. The Crime isn't producing a bad album; it's producing an also-ran album, really.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's too late.
Yeah.
They were out of date. And they got the 80s guy back, not realising it was all over already.
Yeah.
It was, of course, playing with Malmsteen, interestingly, and he left Malmsteen to come back to bloody Deep Purple. I think. Or maybe he'd already finished, I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, boring.
Deep Purple, again, not really my dominion. Does it go into room 201? I don't know. Yeah, go on then. Put it in. Why not? Kev's broke room 201.
Doesn't matter. It's gone. It is the hated Deep Purple album, It's a classic example of, it doesn't matter who's in the band. It's not the people. They're not heroes. They're not superheroes, Jazz doesn't have this problem. You play with different people. It's good to play with different people. The fact that those people played that in the 70s does not mean they sound anything like that 10 years later or 15 years later. Get different people, and it's brilliant. Perpendicular is the first really good album since Perfect Strangers. Perfect Strangers is massively overrated, really. So yeah, that was 1990. So we're okay now, aren't we? It's good now. It's good, isn't it? It's good. So yeah, the Black Sabbath story continues. Our Dehumanizer review and all that, and all the ridiculous stories, and Tony Martin was out and he was back in again, and Dio was such a difficult man. But sorry, Tony Martin, he's got a bigger range than Dio, so bring him back. And so they brought him back and did Cross Purposes, which was all right. And then last shows of the tour in Brazil, they got Bill Ward back. Original lineup with Tony Martin on vocals. How cool does that sound? Do you watch the video and it's just like, and Bill Ward is just not Bill Ward on that. He's just not up to it. And I think Bill Ward said, this isn't Black Sabbath. And Geezer thought, yeah, you're right, it's not. So Geezer went. So Tony Iommi thought, well, okay, I'll have to get back to the 80s lineup. They were on the ascent in the 80s, Headless Cross and Tear. They're two 80s for me, but they are good albums for the time. They suited the time. They should have sold more, and they won on the ascent, but it just wasn't enough. That's why Dio came back and all that. So Tony Iommi thought, okay, we'll get them all back again. And now you've got the safe pair of hands on vocals, surely it will be all right. But he got the flu at the start of the Cross Purposes tour. He sounded terrible. They never seemed to recover until like 5 years later or something. So he sounded terrible again. And of course, what happened? Cozy Powell is back for this one. It's the lineup that did Tear, But of course, Tony Iommi, did he really want to be doing this? Was he really? Was this all just trying to get back with Ozzy? But to do the deal, Black Sabbath had to be an entity, because of course it turns out, we find out now that what it was, Sharon was saying, no, Ozzy gets most of the money and you get the rest, or not. What do you want to do? So Tony Iommi is trying to push. He needs Black Sabbath to be up there to justify it, and that's what it is. Even Cross Purposes. I mean, it sounds like he wasn't doing anything. He was going to pretend Black Sabbath was still going. And Bobby Rondinelli rung him up and said, "Do you need a drummer? You doing Black Sabbath?" Yeah, okay. And they did. So this album, Jesus Christ. And of course, it's 1995, okay? I'm listening to the Bruce Dickinson Radio 1 rock show, but Bruce Dickinson. And he gets, Tony Iommi's on the phone later today. Oh, wow, goodness me. He's making a new album. But we're not going to make stuff that I want to listen to anymore. We're going to try and make the music that everyone else wants to listen to. I thought, oh God, what is he talking about? It just sound like something. So what's he got? He's got bloody, what's his name? I can't remember his name. Body Count.
Vanilla Ice.
A bit like Vanilla Ice.
Iced tea.
Iced Tea, that's the one. So yeah, so he gets Iced Tea to come and produce because they're cool now, aren't they? And Iced Tea just doesn't know how to do that, does he? He's no fucking clue. So he gets his guitarist to produce it. And Iced Tea's on the first song a little bit for a few seconds. And so now it's not Tony Iommi with Cozy Powell. Cozy Powell's just relegated to drummer. Shut up. We're going to be successful with this crap music. The production sucks. The vocals suck. It's a terrible album. It's and of course these albums because they've been lost in time. How good they are is so exaggerated. So now people are saying, "Oh, Headless Cross is fantastic." Even Forbidden, it's not that bad. Yes, it is. It's terrible. It's a terrible album. Reunion was not just around the corner because this is shit. Tony Martin sounds terrible. Sorry, it's crap. It's a crap album. Cross Purposes is really good. You know, this is terrible. That first song, fuck me.
I couldn't even find. We had the issue that was not on Spotify.
Yeah, these ones haven't been reissued. It's controversial. It sounds like Tony Iommi just didn't have time. He wanted to do it properly, I think. But when people actually hear this, I can't. I mean, Jesus Christ, crap, boring crap. Interesting to compare to Slaves and Masters. Slaves and Masters is much more competent, well played, well produced, well made. But this obviously has better riffs, obviously, but nothing else. Nothing. There's nothing there. Crap. Their worst album, easily. There are no. It's the only bad Black Sabbath album. Even Never Say Die's got good stuff on it. It's just all over the place. Technical Ecstasy is a complete misfire, but there's good stuff on it. You know, I've never liked Eternal Idol, but people like Eternal Idol. This is just terrible. It's a terrible album. Crap.
Okay then, Hector. Does Forbidden by Black Sabbath go into room 201?
Of course it does. Put it in room 201.
Yes, it does. Yay!
Kev feels vindicated.
Yeah, of course it does, because it's terrible. So thanks for that, folks. Thanks for making us listen to those.
There's one we haven't done, Kev.
Is there?
Yeah.
Slaves and Masters, No Jacket Required. Oh my God! Honestly, I didn't do it deliberately. Oh God! Really? No, honestly, I wasn't deliberate. Must have been psychological because it's Saint Anger time. It's a crap Metallica album. It's quite funny because it's so bad. It is that thing of where there's good riffs sometimes, but it's just terrible. It sounds terrible. You think and Justice for All sounds terrible. It sounds much worse and nowhere near as good. And his voice sounds rubbish, and the drumming is comical, and there's no songs. Pretty much, there's a couple of songs maybe there's 2 songs, and some riffs, and there's no guitar solos. Because that's down with the kids. Oh, this is their Forbidden. Actually, it's the same thing. It's, well, what do kids like? Oh, yeah, they don't like guitar solos anymore. We've just got to do riffs and nothing else. And give me a party with bats as soon as I had a fire. Just crap. It's just crap.
Okay.
Delete it.
I'm going to play devil's advocate here a little bit.
Okay.
If I was going to put a Metallica album into room 201, would it be Load or more likely Reload?
Load is the most. That's the thing. Load is just boring. This is terrible.
Yeah, but I mean they are. This is what I get. I mean it does. I can't sit through it all the way. I can listen to some kind of monster, which technically is pre their the documentary sort of thing before the breakdown. Frantic, all right. And it kind of ends there, really.
There's nothing else.
You listen to the drum and you go, what are you doing?
Book.
Well, it's just even the sound of the drums.
Yeah.
Why do you want the drums to sound like
terrible.
that?
It doesn't make any sense, does it? Yeah.
And you get the sense that they're trying to do something different, yeah. They are trying to
That's the problem, but they can't.
push it forward.
You know, the only time Metallica are good is when they do thrash.
Yeah, but
I know, people don't call Master of Puppets thrash. So I do. That's for me. That's thrash. That's what I'm talking about. Normal metal that's heavy. They can't. When they try and do something different, it's shit. Load is.
Yeah, but let's say you got a kid in class, yeah, who's not the brightest in the world, but they go away and they write something that's really quite flawed and rubbish, do you send them to stand in the corner with a dunce cap on, or do you encourage them?
You don't tell them yes, it's very good, well done.
Well,
Do more of that.
Yeah, but no one's saying it's very good. What we're saying is there's a sort of a more qualitative argument that we can have here about this. That you know, you've got to give them some marks for actually trying to do something different. And if there was more bands trying to break new ground,
Yeah, for bands who were actually able to do it.
yeah. But Metallica, you know, they're a flag bearer for heavy rock.
That's
and
the
heavy
problem.
metal, yeah.
That's the problem. Yeah.
And if they're trying to do it, then surely other bands are gonna more competent bands are gonna give it a go.
But it's the Ramones argument. You know, I think Johnny Ramone said all the bands he likes, when they try to change, they turn to shit. So let's not change. Which is what he does. What James Hetfield does.
I mean, sometimes I think I actually find the success of Metallica a bit of a
anomaly.
Yeah, that's the word.
It is
Anomaly.
amazing.
It doesn't quite make sense. The music is
really extreme.
Isn't that good, you know, to be like one of the biggest bands in the world ever.
Well, when it is,
and I
it's extreme.
They're paying a sort of a little bit of a price for that in terms of the way people look at them.
Yeah.
When you consider it's four guys who were kind of making it up as they go along.
Yeah. You can tell they don't really know what they're doing.
Yeah, they don't really know what they're doing. They've hit upon success, and I think they're buying into the management speak and stuff like that. They're sort of fully on board with that. I would say, you know, you've got to it's different, not in a good way, but at least it's different, you know.
But and even the difference is massively exaggerated. It's just some riffs and James Hetfield saying it's not that different, is it? It's still just not as good.
I think it's a little bit raw, and what you got to say, the payoff for that is if Metallica are producing something that's quite raw sounding, that sort of normalises that sound, which means garage bands now can essentially produce music which you can compare to Metallica. Yeah, they don't need like heavy production or whatever. You can have a snare drum that rings really loudly.
You don't need a snare drum, just use a cardboard box.
I mean, I'm sure. What was it? We watched, you know. So when Vinny had, you know, one of his albums produced, you know, they did a video of the guy who did the computery bits after they recorded it all.
Oh yeah, we saw a bit. Yeah,
and he was going through replacing the snare drum.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
Well, maybe you shouldn't replace the snare drum. Perhaps you should sort of.
Well, it depends if it sounds good. If it doesn't sound good, then yeah, you should. Of course, you should.
Well, sounds are sort of subjective, aren't they? They're what you're used to.
Yeah.
So someone who was transported from the 50s to today and listened to music today, it would be just
baffling,
an insane mess.
Yeah.
It would drive them mental. So yeah, I mean that's my devil's advocate argument.
Yeah, I mean I do think the comparison is interesting. You know, Load is Slaves and Masters, Saint Anger is Forbidden. You know, this is the clusterfuck. Load is just commercial tribe.
Yeah. It just seems that a lot of the albums we put into Room 201 have been that, though.
Yeah.
Just tribe. Commercial tribe.
Commercial tribe, rather than actually just being wrong.
Yeah.
This is wrong. They did it wrong. I think it's so infuriating because of the type, like you said, it's metal is generic. It is about conservatism. It is.
You say that, though, Kev, but I mean, you see all progressive metal.
But that's mixing prog with metal.
Where is the prog, you know?
But that's not metal. That's progressive metal, isn't it? So, and that's like a controversial thing. Oh, we can't do that. You know.
Oh, right, okay.
And whereas, you know, Master of Puppets is one of the best albums ever made.
Yeah.
Because it was metal. And as soon as they said, well, we're going to change now, but we don't know how to do it, so we're just going to make this album sound like shit. Well, and it's the Cliff thing, isn't it? They became successful because of that particular careful balance of individuals. I think just like Led Zeppelin, it had to be those individuals, and without one of them, it's not going to be right. You know, imagine if Led Zeppelin carried on in the 80s without John Paul Jones. It would have been crap. It would have sounded terrible, I'm sure. You know, and it's the same thing. So they needed a producer, so they got Bob Rock, and of course he did his thing and made the commercial Black Album, a massive success. But as soon as that runs its course, it all goes wrong again. So they need a producer, and you know, Death Magnetic. Actually, Death Magnetic, I think he's all right. You know, I don't know if I've slagged it off before. It's all right. It's good. It's for a band at that point in their career, it's good. You know, you're not going to expect Master of Puppets as good as but different.
I have to say, if their stated ambition was to bring their A+s to this album, which they say in the documentary, they fail spectacularly.
Yeah, but of course the documentary is just brilliant. It's just brilliant, and the classic line. We didn't mention it in all our reviews. You know, if I was in charge and you asked me about that I would say delete that track.
I would delete it.
I would delete it. It's just brilliant. It's just fantastic. This is Dad.
It is nice to sort of see. This is sort of like the result of that documentary. Everything that went on in the documentary resulted in this.
Yeah, it's like those things. I mean, it's like I say with King Crimson. It's like they have to do it. They had to do that stage before they can do that. I think they had to. I don't think they had a choice at that point. They're obviously a complete mess and everything. They film themselves being a complete mess.
Well, they're starting again, aren't they, essentially? I mean, the way they wrote songs was changing because
you only do work for 4 hours a day.
Well, not only that, they were sort of all getting involved in the lyrics, which is
terrible idea.
which is where you get
star because my Death Star.
Hey, that's it. That's got to go in there. What?
And actually, when we went back to the other albums, you know, there's crap like that on the early albums. It's just its context, isn't it? It's thrash. It's silly, and that's what I'm sure that's what. As he's slightly on the outside of the songwriting, I think Kirk probably recognised we just need to be making thrash metal. Actually, forget that. Forget this '90s crap. But obviously, he doesn't have the weight in the band to say this is what we're supposed to be doing.
I want to do a guitar solo, and if I want to do a guitar solo, I'll do a guitar solo.
Yeah.
You got Bob Rock telling him he can't. I
Yeah,
mean, what's that all about?
Yeah. And what's the best part of And Justice for All, which is what the closest this is the guitar solos.
Yeah.
Without them, there's nothing there. There's nothing there on this album. Crap.
Yeah, but if I put it in, that means the documentary loses a little bit of a.
Well, it should have been the soundtrack to the failed Metallica album.
Yeah.
Soundtrack to the documentary of Metallica not making an album, not release it as an album.
Okay. Hector, should St. Anger go into room 201?
Well, you've made some very good points on all sides. But I decree that St. Anger should go into room 201.
I don't agree with that.
Really? So you wouldn't put it in? Really? St. Anger? I don't know.
I would never ever put St. Anger on, yeah. There's just no way in this world I would put it on.
Then why would you not put it in?
But it's part of an intriguing story, yeah, and that some kind of monster documentary,
Yeah,
which is
yeah.
probably the best thing Metallica have ever.
Apart from
Master of Puppets, yeah.
It's the best thing they've
It's the second best thing Metallica have ever done, yeah. And it is wonderfully entertaining. I've watched it several times, and the album sort of is great because they say, when we started making it, we said we're going to bring our A+s, and we weren't. There's nothing there that we wouldn't make into a pretty good rock song if we spent enough time on it. But it's not.
But I would delete it.
Yeah, and you look and then you listen to the album and you go, "This is your A+s?
Yeah.
What the hell?"
Yeah, they were in no state to make an album.
No,
That's what it was.
it took too long, didn't it? Really, it was sort of.
Yes, that's what they had to go
I'm
through.
sure there was a lot of pressure from Q Prime to actually get it released because they needed some money coming in. They needed to get them touring again.
Yeah.
That sort of thing.
Yeah, and
I reckon the A+ thing went out the window.
Yeah, and with all these albums, that they made lots of money. They made lots of money.
Yeah.
They deserve to make lots of money. They already have, actually, by this point. But
I just think Metallica could make a lot of money just by issuing a turd.
Yes.
Yeah,
Well, yeah,
I
which
mean-
they've literally done.
Yeah.
Well, not literally. That's a stupid thing to say.
Right then, next week.
Next week.
Oh,
Are you ready?
We continue the
Yeah, we're doing another band. We're doing a new band next week. So was it in 200? Well, it's very, very special. Ladies and gentlemen, Magma.